Hi, I'm Andrea. Thanks for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. You could have a chair today. Not really a day where we're going to use the chair, but a day where we will be putting very good use to our other props. So our folded blanket, that can be the throw blanket from your couch, or maybe a big beach towel, even a thick enough bath towel. And also, I've got 2 blocks, and if you have thick books, those can do the trick. I've been listening to your suggestions, and I know that yin, which is kind of more held, juicy, restorative poses, is something that a few of you have requested. So that's actually going to be a bit of our focus today. Some juicy on the floor stuff. I do have one more prop. I have my dog in the room. If you don't have a dog, a cat will be fine. I'm just letting you know that because it's possible that during our juicy, delicious stuff, there might be a juicy, delicious animal that makes herself present. And we will do a little bit of movement just to get ourselves warm before we get into our more restorative vibe. So start, as we do, in Tadasana with your feet hip distance apart. So Tadasana means mountain pose. Turn your palms away from one another and stand with your feet in the earth and the crown of your head towards the sky. And just let yourself land and fully inhabit your mountain. Notice your breath, and if you can, let it just come in and go out of your nose. Now, obviously, if you can't breathe through your nose for whatever reason, I want you to breathe, but I'd like you to breathe with awareness. Slow, deep inhales. Complete exhales. Let's take a few moments just to stand and breathe, to stop, so that we can start. Adding some movement. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky. Create a V shape overhead. And exhale, just float your arms along your side. Again, inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, float your arms along your sides. Adding on, inhale, arms out and up. Exhale, hinge at your hips for our sun salutation variation, hands to your thighs. When you inhale, traction your hands onto your thighs and create length in your spine, and then exhale, increase the hinge in your hips, but don't let your head get lower than your hips. And then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V shape. Float your arms along your side, palms face out. Again, inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs. Inhale, heart extends forward, and then exhale, hinge at your hips a little bit deeper. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Float your arms along your sides. One more time like that. Inhale, arms out and up, a V shape, and then exhale, hinge at your hips, hands come to your thighs. Inhale, traction, lengthen. Exhale, increase the hinge at your hips. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, and then pause in your mountain. Now shift the weight onto your left foot and bring your right knee just a little towards your chest. It might look like quite a bit. We're all a little bit different. And then step hip distance. Shift your weight onto your right foot and bring your left knee towards your chest. Doesn't matter what amount. Step back into your mountain, onto your left foot, right knee to your chest. Back through center, shift onto your right foot, left knee to your chest. We'll add some arms here onto your left foot, thumbs to the sky, V shape as your right knee comes in, and then hip distance, thumbs to the sky, left knee comes to your chest. Back and forth a couple more times. Standing on the left, right knee to chest. Through center and then standing on your left, right knee to your chest. Sorry, standing on your right, left knee to your chest. Then stand on your left, right knee to your chest. Stand onto your right, left knee to your chest. And then back to our mountain we go. chair pose, bend your knees, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Imagine sitting in the chair that might be nearby, and then stand into your mountain. Again, like that. Chair pose, thumbs to the sky, a V shape. Stand, float your arms along your side. Adding our knee to chest, chair pose, thumbs to the sky. Shift your weight onto your left foot, bring your right knee to your chest, back through chair. And then shift onto your right foot, left knee to your chest. Chair pose down the middle, thumbs to the sky. And right knee into your chest. Chair pose down the middle. And left knee to your chest. A couple more rounds each side. If your tempo is different than mine, celebrate your tempo. Right knee comes to your chest. And left knee, maybe not exactly at the same timing. One more round, how about? Or thereabouts, yeah? Right knee to chest. Chair pose, left knee to chest. Now head to your chair pose and pause. Remember, thumbs to the sky so we don't crowd our shoulders into our ears. Shift your weight back into your heels. Be a little conscientious about lifting your low belly so we don't dump into our lower back. We're also not scrunching our shoulders into our ears, no matter how uncomfortable this chair might be. And we'll take 3 breaths here. Stay with it. You're doing great. Stand it up into your mountain, palms face out. This is where we want to use our props. You can use the seat of your chair. Take your 2 blocks or thick books and place them on either side of your mat, but not underfoot. So we always want to be very mindful about how we place our props and then how we use them so that everything we do is optimal, body and mind. Now, facing the front edge of your mat. If you don't have a mat, just imagine you've got a short edge of your mat. Inhale, chair pose, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, hinge at your hips and take your hands to traction onto your thighs. Use the traction to inhale, lengthen your spine. And then hands can come to the seat of your chair if it's better, or to your tall blocks. Step your left foot back and then lower that back knee. But as you do, think to yourself, does this want some padding? Remember, mindful of how we use our props so it's optimal. You can always take your folded blanket and put it underneath that left knee. Now in our low lunge, this is called because our knee is down, I want us to spend a little bit of time paying close attention to it because we want to have optimal alignment of our bodies too. So this is not knee forward of the ankle. We're going to spend a little time in it, so we want it to be as vertical as possible. Take both of your blocks to the inside of your right foot. This is called humble warrior because we sort of a little bit bow down, but we're not rounding as we bow. There is still this majesty in our humble alignment. So with our right knee and ankle in a vertical line, remember when we tractioned our hands on our thighs, create that length in your spine. And you'll start to feel a little something something in the outer right hip, am I right? If you don't happen to feel enough for it to be interesting, you can come onto your forearms, but this is where it becomes really important that we lace this with awareness. So we're not rounding and collapsing. If you are on your forearms, on your blocks, there's a traction, almost like the times that we've done Sphinx together, where you feel like you're smiling your collarbones. Another thing that's a kind of a tendency, and these are all just kind of exciting to nerd out on, we have a tendency to jut our chins forward. It's what we do with our technology, and we don't know until we know. It's humbling. How appropriate for the pose that we're in, right? So just think to yourself, what are my habits? Not because I'm a bad person, but because I don't know if I don't lace it with awareness, just like you're finding with your breath. Find the perfect mix of sensations and easefulness. I like to have my left toes, my back toes curled under to protect my knee. And that, in addition to that padding, might be exactly the way to go. We're lingering in this longer because that's sort of in the yin tradition, and I'm not sure that this would be yin in the purest form, but we're yin for some fun, don't you think, today? So stay with that long spine. not the habit of rounding. Let there be softness in your jaw, even in your hands. Rich, full inhales, maybe a little pause at the top. Complete exhales with a pause at the bottom. Sip in the silence for the next few moments here. Now come onto your hands if you're on your forearms. We'll stay low to the ground for our transition. Right knee next to left knee. And then simply step your left foot to the outside of your blocks. I'm going to move my blocks over to the right a little bit and then step my left foot. Maybe this is where the padding wants to come into the mix. And then we want to take the same time to create a vertical line from now our left knee to our left ankle, to make sure that we're optimal in terms of not pain in that poor little back knee. You're thinking of the left hip drawing back and the right hip drawing forward a little bit, and then we really want to keep that length in our spine. There's nothing wrong with keeping your hands on your blocks the whole time. Maybe you even go hands onto the floor the whole time. You're designing this so that it's just humbling enough, but it doesn't feel the least bit overwhelming in any way. If you come onto your forearms, we just want to be very certain that it's not a rounding. And then we want to check in with our chin and let it not jut forward as if we were on our cell phone, but instead just be in a neutral position. It's sort of like there's a little bit of a tangerine that we could hold underneath our chin. Hands are soft. Eyes are soft. Jaw is soft. And you sip the silence for a few moments on this side. Now move slowly and with a consciousness around it. Come onto your hands, onto your blocks. Maybe it's on the ground, but for I think a lot of us it'll be on something that's elevating. And then left knee next to right knee. Move your blocks a little bit to the left. Step your right foot forward. But this time, once you get there, start to straighten that leg and move one of your blocks to the outside of your right foot. Now dial back the right hip, curl the toes back, let it be a straight leg, and then we're not rounding here either. So hinging at your hip, it's like you're finding a little bit of that Sphinx pose, or almost like a little cobra, some smiling collarbones here. And then when you get the feedback of the back of your right leg stretching, you keep the length in your spine, the softness of your jaw. You check on that habit of jutting the chin forward and let it not be part of your posture. We steep here for a few moments. move slowly as we come out of it. Just rebend your right knee. Keep your hands on your blocks. Swoop your right knee next to your left knee. Remember, if you want padding, you can always slip that towel or blanket in and then just step your left foot forward. You can step it in between your blocks. We'll need to adjust a little bit as we're here. Straighten your left leg and curl the toes back. Find the hip hinge and the length through your spine and curl those toes back towards you. And then once you get the feedback of a stretch, that's all we need, and it dances with our breath as we're here. We're here for a slightly more extended period of time than maybe sometimes, just given the nature of our practice today. Find where the porridge is just right, and then let it steep for a few silent moments together here. Bring your awareness back into where you are for our dismount. Bend your front knee, stamp that left foot onto the ground, and then swoop your left knee next to your right knee. And our next pose is going to be whichever you decide works for you. So many of us are going to do a seated cross-legged position, and you may want to bring your blanket into the mix, and then you could just cross right shin in front of left shin. I'll show you this quickly. So if you know that this is the shape for you, shin in front of shin, seated on your perch, we do it together pretty often. I'm going to offer the possibility of something that's rather new for us to do together, and that's a single pigeon. Now, you can use your folded blanket. You can also decide that it would be better to sit onto your block. So I'll show you on my right side first. The block underneath my right hip, or like underneath my the right side of my body. I'm not quite sure how to tell you that. And then there's a bend to my right knee, and there's extension, meaning I'm extending my left leg back behind me. I like to curl my toes under and turn that left thigh to face the ground. Now, I don't want you to be way over here. So if it's turning into this, do the seated cross-legged instead. And this is the first time that you and I are doing single pigeon together. So feel free to, try it on for size, and if it's not for you, to go back to the seated cross-legged position. Now, what you're trying to think of a little bit, my friends who are in this pigeon, you could also take your other tall book or block and have your hands on it, but let your left hip start to feel heavy. So there's two different things happening. There's a hip stretch on the right side and a hip flexor stretch on the left side. We're going to stay with this like we've been doing for kind of an extended period of time. I want you to be cautious that your right knee is not feeling like this is the wrong move. If that's the case, take that seated cross-legged position instead. Ready? Let's meditate here. Silence and as much stillness as you can find. A few moments. Just notice whether you're in your seated cross-legged position or in this pigeon, be as long through your spine as you can be, and then just check without judgment those habits of jutting your chin and let that not be the case. Soften your jaw. Soften your gaze. Last couple moments here. If you are experimenting with this single pigeon variation, you are now, to come out of it, actually going to do what I said that I kind of didn't necessarily want you to do while in it, and that is just lean to your right. So you take any pressure off of your right knee, and you can use both hands just to swoop that leg back onto hands and knees. So take your time. See how I'm like coming off my block? Hands and knees then set up on the second side. So our block goes underneath the left hip, really underneath the left sit bone is what I was trying to say, completely ineffectively on the first side. And then you can switch the cross of your leg if that's what you're doing, or you come in that sort of side saddle seat upon your block, or maybe it's a folded blanket. I like this tall block in front of me so I can steer myself a little bit more effectively. Now all of us are going to tip over towards the left a little bit. It's just natural and it's not terrible. But if you curl your right toes under and then just imagine that you're turning that thigh to face the ground, it'll be incremental. There's lots of different juicy tightness we're bumping up against here. There's what's happening in your left hip, and then there's all the hours that we sit with our knee towards our chest that is now being stretched the opposite way in that back leg. So be patient, be kind. Yin is this idea of a softer practice. So if we go in hard with a yin practice, it's not quite in keeping with what we're trying to do here. Find a place where it can simmer with a little bit of interest and not boil over in terms of what you're feeling sensation-wise. I'll be silent. We'll be here for a few moments. In these last couple moments, can you find the length in your spine, the softness in your jaw, even softness in your throat, our communication center? There might be areas when we leave our mat where that softness in the communication area would come in handy. You know what I mean? And coming out, especially of this single pigeon, I just want us to be very aware. If you're extending your legs out in front of you from your cross-legged seat, you're fine. You're doing great. Now lean over to your left, and you can start to free a little bit of the bend out of your left leg while you're still seated on your perch. Then use the strength of your arms just to swoop that leg so it's knee next to knee, and all of us will likely come onto our perch. So you may be there already from your cross-legged seat for a wide-legged seat. So find the right uplift, like a little bit of a bench, and then extend your legs out to the side. They don't have to go super wide, but this is a nice complement to the pose that we were just in, whether that was because your knees were bent in a cross-legged seat or because of the nature of that single pigeon. Curl your toes back. Roll onto the tops, the fronts of your sit bones as opposed to back where it rounds. Feel like this has the majesty of your mountain in it. Now there might be plenty of sensation right where we are, and you can close your eyes or soften your gaze and just meditate here. If a little bit of a hip hinge And a little bit of a venture forward is where you want to go with it. Remember, we're not rounding. And that we're feeling all the feels and finding a place where that doesn't feel prickly or electric. Just enough to chew on while we're here. Soften your gaze, maybe close your eyes. Soft jaw, soft throat. A few silent moments now in this new shape. Slowly, if you walked forward, walk yourself back in, and then carefully, using your hands on the outsides of your thighs, bend your knees and put your feet on the ground so it feels easy to maneuver off of our perch. I'm going to give you, there's a lot of opportunities for agency in our practice today, so you get to decide also. It could be that for Shavasana, final meditation, you put the bottoms of your feet together, take your two thick books underneath your thighs, carefully lie back, and let this act as your Shavasana. If you're not really into this bottoms of the feet together deal, lie back and take our Shavasana as we usually do. But this is where we really let it all come together. This is where all that juicy, delicious meditating and stretching becomes a part of every cell, every corner. Maybe close your eyes, even cover your eyes here. Shavasana. You're always welcome, in fact, encouraged to stay in your Shavasana for as long as you'd like. If you're ready, and especially if you're in this position with the bottoms of your feet together, help it along. So take your hands on the outsides of your thighs, draw your knees towards each other. You might feel evidence of what you just did. And then remember, we want to be conscious of our props. So just slide them off your mat so they're not going to be in your way as you roll to either side. Knees towards your chest. And that's for any of us coming out of any of the shapes of Shavasana you might have taken. And then some sort of comfortable seat for us to seal that we were yin for some fun today. And maybe you feel a little bit of a hum in your body, a little softness that you can take with you out into the world. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I look forward to us doing it again together soon.